My people of this country and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough.
This is the Patriot Prayer Podcast. It's a tremendous show, one of the greatest shows in the history of the world.
This is Bryson Gray, and you are watching the Patriot Prayer.
PPN, you're doing the right thing.
On the Patriot Prayer Network. Thank you all.
PPN on your bumper.
I'm Tom McDonald. This is the Patriot Prayers Network. Check it out. Lots of good TV. Lots of cool people. Tune in. Keep it locked.
I'm the white boy with the middle fingers in the air, dog. We don't give a what. 100 white boys gonna hold me down anywhere, dog. We think that you suck. My Patriots the craziest. They ain't afraid of breaking fists on faces. If you really wanna taste of this, no safety tip. The same mistake and spray the clip. I pray you miss, cause if you don't, they gon' go wacko. Automatic gun smoke like tobacco. Never hit a lady, but it's pretty hard to tell if you're a girl or a they, them. There's these, that, those. I ain't never gonna take a knee for the anthem. Smack them. I don't give a damn, can't stand them. Gang full of randoms. Fan with a handgun. Run up in your mansion, leave it all abandoned. I was raised to be brave to the grave. United States, we love the country that they've been corrupting. Go woke and go broker if you ain't obeyed. My people of this country and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough, come stand with us, take USA back. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is American flags. American flags. American flags. And every time we pull up, all you...
What's going on, people? Welcome to the Patriot Prayer Podcast. We got one for you guys today. Shout out to Ryan Mehta. He just put out this film, and I call him in the middle of the film, and I'm like, hey guys, we're like, it's like Thanksgiving, and I'm watching this film, and I see this story, and I'm just like, bro, you killed it, right? And then he says, you need to talk to Diego. So I have Diego Rodriguez here with us today, and we're going to tell you guys the story. And it's a tragic story, and I think it's one that happens to a lot more people in this country than what people realize. And it is a monstrosity of government that it's been created by CPS and some legislation that was put through some time ago by the Clintons. It's just been terrible for families, and we'll get into more of that later. But Diego, introduce yourself for the people, and let's get into it, man. Let's talk about what people really need to know and how they can protect themselves from what happened to you and your family.
Well, first of all, Eddie, just thanks for having me, and thank you for what you guys do here at the Patriots Prayer Network. I've just recently learned about it, and what you guys are doing is fantastic, and I couldn't be more grateful to be a part and to, tip my hat to you guys, support what you guys are doing, and just say thank you again for having us here, and for Ryan, connecting us, for him putting this documentary together. So thank you so much, Ryan. This is literally a godsend, literally an answer to prayer. After you go through something like what our family went through, one of the things you want to do is to be able to tell everybody about it. And most people don't have the resources, the ability to do such a thing. You need somebody else who does have that skill set and that aptitude, somebody like Ryan, to come in and to take that, shoulder that burden and to make it happen. And he did. And boy, did he ever do it. And so
he's got some guts, man. He goes places and does things where, I was with him in Idaho, right? We were there at about the Hetero Awesome Festival, right? we were there, right? So Mark is a marketing genius over at Old State Saloon and in Eagle. But so we're there. And so I knew about this, him creating this some time ago. We talked about it. But to see it just to come to fruition the way it did, he's a hell of a storyteller, and he goes places and does things that I'm a brave guy. I'm not too much afraid of anything, but here he goes into places where you got cartel, human trafficking, and he's just there with a camera asking people questions, a white guy. Like, are you dude, Africa, you name it. I mean, you got to be called like in a special kind of way,
totally,
to want to do the things that he does. So just shout out to that guy for real. But
my wife made a really good point. She said that Nancy Schaefer, who was a senator from Georgia, who was one of the first prominent people in America to really take a stand against CPS, what Ryan has exposed here in the documentary, she was in the process of making a documentary, and nobody knows if it got finished or what have you. And her idea and her plan was to expose CPS through a documentary. And of course, the powers that be, whoever they specifically are, had her murdered before that documentary was released. And my wife made the point that God used Ryan to release the documentary that Nancy Schaefer never was able to do.
It happens all too often where people are working on things that never come to fruition or find out things, and then all of a sudden they're in crazy hospitals or find child porn on your computer for some weird reason. All of a sudden, like we were saying, this is. I mean, you got to understand the size of the system that we're fighting. I mean, we're watching people that you saw even in the intro of this podcast, you saw, we've been everywhere. I mean, the Trump administration has taken me and Maurice, and we were CPAC streaming. We were right next to Newsmax. Who are we to be next to Newsmax and these guys at a table streaming, talking to people like Matt Schlapp, who's the chairman, and just been very blessed to be in some of the places and have done some of the things and spent time with people that we've been able to. And I say all that to say this: I had the highest of hopes, and I thought coming into this, okay, now we're finally just going to kick doors in, take names, fire people. We're going to see Nancy Pelosi in cuffs, Adam Schiff. We're going to have this whole crossfire hurricane thing exposed. We're going to see, oh man, this is just going to be like, oh my God, I can't wait. And here we are a year in, and nothing, and no real. Don't get me wrong, there have been some arrests, but I think they're the kind of things that you see that keep you kind of looking to the right while, don't look over here. Don't look at these things. And so people get away with doing things and committing crimes right in front of your face that that they've done, and they don't get in any trouble for it. Ilhan Omar, lied her way into this country, and she holds office. $250,000 pandemic fraud case called Feeding the Future in Minnesota. Now they just found out that they were sending money to terrorists through it. And yet here she's still doing TV interviews, and she's still in office. And it just seems like there's a different set of rules for you and me than there is for these guys. And we're all fooled because it's like, hey, you're right, you're left, you're white, you're black, you're brown, you're white, whatever the hell the case is. And they use that. And all too often we're so brainwashed, we fall for it, because if we ever came together and realized how much power we have, hell, if you, me, and 100 million other Americans went into our workplaces tomorrow and said, hey, don't hold any federal tax out of my check, within 1 week, this government would be on its knees. 1 week. But you know what would happen to the person who started that movement? God knows. But it would be enough to spark change. And so they want to keep us divided. And they also want to do that by attacking the family, which in your case is exactly what happened. And it happened largely throughout the Biden administration. And still in some ways it continues to happen, because the systems and procedures by which they use to go after your family, are they still in place? Everywhere.
So they're in place everywhere. And this is not a Republican or a Democrat problem or issue. This is 100% an American issue. It affects everybody. Remarkably, this is an issue on our side, on the side of those who want to get this undone, that is, universal. Everybody, whether they're Republicans, Democrats, white, black, brown, yellow, purple, red, nobody cares. There's not a person. Other than, the freaks and the homos and the trannies and the pedophiles, all those absolute total freaks, they're all opposed, to families. But if you're a liberal, if you're a leftist freak, and you voted for, Biden and Kamala and Clinton's and everybody like that, even they don't want their children ripped away from them.
No, they don't believe in the things that they champion.
No matter what your political ideology is, who's okay with your child being ripped away from you at the point of a gun. Nobody's okay with that. Nobody. So it's not an ideological thing. This is why the homos don't care, because they can't have kids. And they're taking our kids away from us and giving it to them. So they're all in favor of this. But this is why this is, it's a universal issue. It affects everybody. And what was unique about our particular case, and the reason why it went viral, is, a handful of things. But the reason why it's been so impactful, and probably one of the reasons why, Ryan was able to and wanted to feature it, was we had a very unique case where we got my grandson back in 6 days. That never happens. Never. That is a full-blown miracle. If they take your child away from you, they're either gone forever and you will never see them ever again, or it could take, 10 months, 12 months, years to get your child back after they've been completely destroyed. They've been emotionally destroyed. Many of them have been physically assaulted, sexually abused, medically destroyed. They've been filled with all different types of vaccines and drugs. And in many cases, in many states, they're used as guinea pigs for big pharma. And by the way, every single thing that you hear me say today, I have receipts for everything. There's not a single solitary thing that is purely speculative.
You're preaching to the choir. We can get down into company names and the whole thing.
Everything. And I've got the documentation. I will not make a claim that I don't have documentation for.
Yeah. I mean, look into Intermountain Health and look at some of the things that Intermountain Health, which is a corporate medicine focused on peds, and they have an entire department dedicated to the things that you were talking about as far as experimenting on children and that sort of thing. And that was kind of a weird thing, because when we were on before we were on air, we talked a bit about the Charlie Kirk thing and that sort of thing. You remember Tyler Robinson had supposedly a trans lover. Well, his mother worked for Intermountain Health. And so it just kind of one thing led to the other, down this rabbit hole, that rabbit hole. And so I learned a lot by way of just doing that kind of research. But
well, I'll give you a perfect example. In the documentary that Ryan's put out here called Never in America, there's a line there where he's quoting me, or not quoting me, but I'm there on film, saying that our case, the Baby Cyrus case, was the second most viral case in recent history regarding CPS. Mm-hmm. Well, the first one was a story of a young lady named Justina Pelletier, which happened up in Massachusetts, 10, 12 years previous to Baby Cyrus's case. And in that very specific case, CPS came and took this wonderfully healthy, beautiful young girl, took her away from her family for no reason, and then just started doing all different types of tests on her. And they left her, and please forgive the expression, but they left her basically not retarded, but, medically and chemically disabled. She used to be a figure skater and a dancer and all this other stuff. And after years and years of getting drugged up, being used as a guinea pig in the hospital, she became, she's disabled. She's in a wheelchair. She can't speak properly. She looks like she's, a disabled person. And her father spent millions of dollars and years fighting to get her back. And if it was all said and done, they sued the hospital, and the hospital, it's noted, I've got the documentation in their records. Not only is it proven fact that they loaded her up with all these drugs and they use her as a guinea pig, but it's actually stated in the hospital's policies that any child that is in the, or any child in custody, and that probably custody is the wrong word because that's a legal term and you shouldn't use it, they get all upset. Mm-hmm. But if the hospital is in possession of a child that is there who is a ward of the state, then the hospital has the legal right to use them as a guinea pig for big pharma.
That's nice.
So they had that right to do that as part of their policy. So when he sued the hospital was cleared of any wrongdoing because they were allowed to do it in the state of Massachusetts.
It reminds me of World War II guy by the name of Joseph Mengele, that used to experiment. He liked to do a lot of experiments on twins, but he used a lot of the Semitic, the people they had in their internment camps and that sort of thing. And he would experiment on the children. And it's no different than, in the United States, we're not innocent of this either. Look up the Tuskegee experiments and the things that we've done in the past. MK Ultra, we have a host, Lynn Hagerman, on this network, who was a victim of MK Ultra. And for years they told us MK Ultra was a fantasy that you guys dreamed up. It wasn't true. And turns out it was not only true, but it never ended. It just turned into MK often, and they just revise it. And you got to think, if you and I can sit here and dig up enough, research and facts to be able to prove the things that we're doing, you got to understand that the media knows, right? So they know. And if they know and they're not telling, what does that say? Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's this thing called Operation Mockingbird years ago that they tried to tell, the CIA infiltrated the media, controlled the media, whatever they said. And they said, well, they got caught doing it and they ended the program. And I just no, they didn't. No, they didn't.
They also infiltrated the churches. I think it's very important to note that as part of that program as well.
501c3. stuff.
Yeah, they sent in a ton of actually, bought and paid for pastors all across the country to support war. This is all the way back in World War II. And, moving forward from there to support a lot of the causes that people think today are Christian causes, and they never were historically Christian causes, and they're not biblical either. But they are all part of a gigantic government fraud.
I want to pause you right there because I definitely the reason for the podcast is the reason for podcast. Definitely, I want to get into Baby Cyrus, but this is a specific issue that's very near and dear to my heart, and I tweet, post, and consistently about this. So just for a second, I want to spend a minute on that because you say you were formerly a pastor, right? So
I was a pastor for almost a decade in Central California, in an inner city church there. So yes.
So you're still a pastor. You're not ever formally a pastor. I'm sure your faith is with you everywhere you go.
100%. And there is a saying that says you can take the man out of the pulpit, but you can't take the pulpit out of the man. So it's very true.
Churches aren't brick buildings. They're not brick buildings anymore. We know.
Never have been. They never were originally. They were not even, I'm not going to get into this theological discussion unless you wanted to, but the word that Jesus uses for church is the word ecclesia. And it has absolutely nothing to do with a building, an organization, an institution, or anything whatsoever. Mm-hmm. It's simply the coming together of his people and the coming together of his believers that institutes the word called church. So when God's people gather together, when believers in Christ gather together, that's the church. It is the grouping in a group of believers that identifies, defines, and constitutes what Jesus Christ called the church, which the gates of hell shall not prevail against.
It was funny, and even though it's not a building or an organization or any of that, there were definitely roles given to people, bishop, prophet,
that's right,
and so
100%.
forth. And you can see the false churches across the country today because you can see that they don't follow any of their rules.
That's 100% correct.
They're not set up the way. I mean, you see Joyce Myers running her church. You see Paula White is the faith ambassador for Trump's dad.
Yeah, there are no women ministers who would lead churches. It's not biblical, period.
Thank you so much for so many people are afraid to say what you just said.
Yeah, well, it's just fact.
It's very much a fact.
That's as controversial as saying the sky is blue and water is wet. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's a very simple fact, and there's nothing else to it.
And worshiping the secular government of Israel is not a biblical. It's not
That's
a biblical
a whole other thing. And, so yes, so that all comes from a doctrine called dispensationalism, of which I once was a dispensationalist, not really because I understood it as much as it's just what I was taught. I was taught, and when you're a young minister and a young preacher, you just repeat what the older preachers have said. And I, repeat it all the time about Israel and the rapture, and we're living in the last days and all the rest of that kind of thing. And then I did the one thing that preachers are never supposed to do, that you're not allowed to do, and that's actually read and study the Bible for yourself. And then when you do that, you find that every single thing we mentioned here about, the regathering of Israel and the 1948 reinstitution and the last days rapture and the Antichrist and the false beast and the prophet and all these things that we're taught and all these signs of the times, it's all wrong. It's all false. It's all a lie.
Yeah.
And I had to get up in my pulpit and I had to undo and say, listen, I've been teaching this for years. And I know that it's wrong. I know that it's false. And, I spent weeks and weeks and weeks teaching our church and undoing it all. And what I see right now, which is remarkable because there's kind of like a renewed interest in mainstream media. Like I was really blackballed in our entire fellowship for being a guy who stood against this. And I even wrote a book about it. And they held in our fellowship, they held conferences just to preach against me and to call me everything in the word and everything you can imagine, heretic, and then some in the whole works. And I never imagined in a million years that these doctrinal issues that were infighting amongst preachers and ministers and denominations would make it into mainstream media. And now we have podcasters and we have on Fox News and we have people like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens talking about dispensationalism with millions of viewers watching it. And my kids, their minds are blown. People who have been with me for years, they're like, brother, did you see what they're talking about? And I'm like, I never thought in a million years that people would realize that this would come to a place where it would go mainstream. And I just think it's because, like always, the devil goes too far, the enemy goes too far, they push too far, they get away with so much garbage, and you keep pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. They go too far, and they overstep their They basically think they can get away with everything, and so they just keep pushing, and then at one point in time they just cross a boundary, and there are repercussions for it.
Yeah.
And so the modern state of Israel, which is run by atheists, pedophiles, and nobody, most of those people don't even have any genetic heritage to the Abrahamic people, which even if we gave it to them, even if you gave it to them and said, all these people are the descendants of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Let's just say you gave that to him, which is not true, but let's just say you gave it to him. The most important thing to remember, brother, is that all of God's promises to Israel are conditional. They're all conditional. He says, you guys will have this land, you'll have these blessings if you keep covenant with me. If you keep covenant with me.
And how many times did he take it from them, even in the Old Testament?
Over and over and over again. And the war, there are dozens, like literally we'd be here all night long going over the scriptural references, dozens of references where God says he will rip the land away from them. He will take them off of their land. He will disperse them. He will destroy them and their land over and over and over again if they do not keep covenant with him. So the question I would ask anybody who's just like, Israel can get away with murder and genocide and anything they want to because we're supposed to love them and we're supposed to bless God's people. And they say, God said that he will bless those who bless Israel and he'll curse those who curse Israel. He never said that. That's not in the Bible anywhere. Period.
It says the seed of Abraham.
It's just not there. It's just a lie. So anybody tells you that is just lying. Just like the sky is blue and water is wet, God never said that about Israel. Ever, ever, ever. Period. End of sentence. He said it to Abraham, but not to Israel.
Exactly. There was the seed of Abraham, and I get into those back and forth all the time. And if you're asking yourself, how does that have anything to do with what we're talking about now? What we're fighting here, and what we're going up against, is without a doubt, it is spiritual warfare. There is 100%
spiritual warfare, brother. And at the end of the day, I'll just finish that statement. I would ask anybody today, in order for you to even believe what you're believing, you have to believe that that nation state of Israel, the government and the people in the nation of Israel is keeping covenant with God today. Do you believe that? And I challenge you to make the argument. Tell me that Benjamin Netanyahu and all of his pedophiles and perverts are keeping covenant with God in order for you to be able to have the support for them that you have.
I mean, you can answer that one question. Do they believe in Christ? No.
Nope.
And that's it. And that's the end of it. The remnant is what I, if you look online, that's what I call myself. It's my moniker is the remnant. And the reason I chose that, the remnant, is because in Israel, there are very few, but in the quarters, they have Christian quarters. And as the Orthodox and, the different variations of Judaism go through those quarters, they spit on the ground. And
that's right.
Ritualistically, they spit because they dishonor it the entire time they're there. They take their animals to graze and do their business on the holy sites and so forth. In the IAA, and people don't know what that is, it's the Israel Antiquity Authority. This is the reason why they don't want people digging up and going over, and they protect the ossuaries. And if you don't know what an ossuary is, when they used to put people in the tombs, they would go in and they would put perfumes and things on the bodies. And as they decayed over time, they would come in and they would collect the bones out of the tomb and they would put them in an ossuary, which is like a small cement style box. Well, they wanted to make sure that the DNA of those people weren't tested against modern day, what they call modern day Semites. Your Benjamin Netanyahu and these types of people. Because
you mean Benjamin Milkowski? Because that's his real name, right?
Right. Yeah. That's you're really we're gonna get nailed. It's okay though. It's okay though. You know what though?
If there's anything you don't want me to say, go ahead and tell me, and I'll censor myself.
No holds barred, brother. No holds barred whatsoever. It's why I say right here, truth matters. Right here, right, somehow or another, right here, truth matters. That's it. That's all I care about. And that's what cuts down the middle of all the rest of these arguments. Are you right? Are you left? Are you liberal? Are you Republican, conservative? Whatever it is, it's all about truth. I'm none of that. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. If people ask me what I am, I tell them I'm a Christian. That's what I am. And
amen to that.
So I answer to one authority, and it's not Donald Trump. It's not the RNC or the DNC or any of those guys. It's whatever's true and whatever's right and whatever's good. And that's the message that we need to get to people. And I think that's the place we all need to get to, because if we get there, then all of a sudden they lose control over us. And I think that scares the hell out of them. That more than they want to admit, it scares the hell out of them.
100%.
So Take me back if you would. Okay, you guys, Baby Cyrus is home. There's no issues with Baby Cyrus other than in the movie I saw I had some digestive issues and things like that, but nothing. I mean, what caused this whole thing to begin? How did that start? How did CPS start?
Well, let me give you a little bit of context before I answer that question, because when Baby Cyrus was first kidnapped, I did like 70 interviews, 3 years ago when all this went down. And I found when I first started them that we would take too long talking about the story of Baby Cyrus. And when we would talk about his story, people wouldn't believe it. And they wouldn't believe it because in their mind, and this was the inspiration for Ryan to have the title of his documentary, which they believe that could never happen in America. That would never happen in America. Because we have been so effectively propagandized in this country to believe that our government always does that which is right, always does that which is true, and there's no injustice in America. Even though people experience injustice all the time and they see it all the time, we're still so propagandized that something really bad could never happen. Like, yeah, sure, politicians get away with bad things, and maybe sometimes a bank robber doesn't go to jail, and maybe sometimes there's a bad cop from now and here and there, just they're kind of like the bad apples. But like something as horrible as somebody kidnapping your child and everybody being complicit, from judges to police officers to our social institutions, there's just no way that can never happen in America. And no matter how detailed we give the descriptions and how much proof and evidence we have of everything, people just wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, because they can't believe the body politic, the whole thing. You're like, yes, a 1 or 2 people may be corrupt, but are you telling us the whole thing is? And I'm sure you face that criticism. So not
only did they not believe that, but they would come to a place where, because the evidence is so plain and it's all right there, we have cameras, we have medical reports, we have eyewitness testimony, there's everything. So you can't deny that it happened the way that it happened. But then they just assume this. Well, this just must be one of those rare things. Mm-hmm. Sometimes a rare thing happens and it's very unfortunate, but it's rare and it happens. I wish to God it was rare. I wish to God what happened to Baby Cyrus only happened to Baby Cyrus and it doesn't happen to anybody else. The truth be told is Baby Cyrus's story is one of the least egregious of the stories that happens among CPS. The other stories, which happens literally millions of times across this country over the last 20 plus years, are 1,000 times more egregious than what happened to Baby Cyrus. Remember, we got him back in 6 days, and most people do not get their kids back. And those who do suffer in ways that are just unimaginable. And so the context I need to build for everybody is basically twofold. 2 things you need to know. And once you have this context, everything else starts to make sense. And the important context for you to have is this. In 1974, there was a law passed called CAPTA, and this is in the documentary. And I won't go into great detail, just say it very fast because we want everybody to watch the documentary. It essentially gave our government the authority to take children away from abusive families or an abusive situation, which, by the way, I'm not opposed to that. I would say I can't imagine there's anybody in the country who's like, yes, if there is a child being abused by parents or in the home that they're in, we want them to be abused all the way up to death because, hey, if the parents feel like they want to kill them, they can kill them. That's what it is. No, we want an authority to step in and protect the child. I think that's pretty much universal. There's nobody's like, yeah, let the babies die. Nobody's in favor of that. Nobody is. However, in 1974, it was simply a law that gave the 50 states the authority to be able to step in and protect children, because before it wasn't really there defined for children. I don't even think that 1974 law was necessary, and I'll explain why later. But in short, it's because there's already laws to protect human beings, whether you're a child or an adult, it doesn't matter. If I'm beating you, Eddie, with a stick, and if I'm beating you with a club or something, the government has the authority to step in and stop that from happening and to separate me from you. It's as simple as that. The different dynamic, of course, with a child is that child was the responsibility of that parent, and now you have to take them away from that responsibility or from that relationship. But historically, it's a very simple thing. You're beating some child, you separate them, you say, leave them with the grandparents, leave them with the brother, the sister, the uncle, the aunt, some other family member, and that's it. It's a very simple process. It's not complicated, but government comes in and screws everything up, as you already know. However, it was a relatively benign law. It essentially created what we have today is called the foster care system. And it was benign because all the states had to pay for it. You know, if we had to take a child away from its parents and we had to give that child to a foster care family, for example, who's going to pay for that? Well, the state has to pay for that. The state of California, the state of Florida, the state of Nevada, the state of Idaho, whichever state. And states don't like to pay for things that they don't have a funding mechanism for.
Sure.
As long as there's funding for it, no problem. But if you're not giving us money in order to do this, well, then we're not going to do it. And so essentially what happened was
legislation. That's the Hillary Clinton legislation.
Yeah. Well, essentially what happened though is that in after CAPTA in 1974, children were only taken away from their parents in the most egregious cases where there's genuine abuse and there was evidence of it. Like we could see it. It was actually there. And that was relatively safe times. In 1997, your best buddy, Hillary Clinton over there, she champions this law called ASFA, A-S-F-A, the Adoption Safe Families Act. And I'll tell you guys right now up front, what the whole purpose of all this is not just to expose CPS and expose all the evil. Let's eliminate ASFA. If we can go back in time and eliminate ASFA, this will get rid of the vast majority of the evil and wickedness that's going on right now. But let me just explain what it is. ASFA is a convoluted law that, without getting into all the details of what it does, it essentially gives all 50 states a funding mechanism and a financial incentive to kidnap all children all the time for any reason or no reason whatsoever, because it opens up funding from Social Security Title IV, meaning instead of having to pass new taxes or instead of having to, raise additional funds, it allows all 50 states to raid the existing Social Security account and siphon all the money out of it that you want, as long as you're stealing babies and you're kidnapping children from their parents in your states. So the
only way they get to keep their job essentially is to come into your home and take your child, and that's the financial incentive to keep their departments and their people employed.
Well, not only that, but there's quotas, because how many states keep things under budget? Like here's, we need $100 million in order to survive this year or whatever it is, $10 billion, depending on the size of the state. How many of them can keep their budget under control? They don't. They always are overspending. So how do they get more money? They're not going to go out and have a government bake sale. So if all of a sudden they say, hey, guess what? The federal government is offering billions of dollars for free. You just got to kidnap kids. Well, who's going to say no? And this is in all 50 states, by the way. There's not a single state that doesn't have this. In fact, some of the more quote unquote, I'm using air quotes for those who are listening, conservative states like Florida, Texas, Idaho, they're some of the worst offenders. So don't think that I am in a...
if I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong.
Say that again?
Idaho, it ranks up there. If it's not number one, it's close to number one. You have people like Laura Silsby and others that were involved, actually imprisoned for child trafficking, and the Clintons freed her. And now she's in government in Idaho. I mean, her name has been changed. She's been married. And now she's legally able to adopt children, where she was previously charged with child trafficking. But it was under the guise of rescuing orphans in Haitian territories. But what she was really doing was she was moving children for the Clintons.
So I have an entire deep dive on our website where I expose that completely, because the whistleblowers came to us specifically and showed us her, I have copies and I've posted it on our website. You can see it. Anybody can see it right now. The receipts have been posted that she is on the government payroll and she receives a monthly paycheck from the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare, which is CPS, because she's a foster care parent. So who is Laura Silsby? She is arguably the world's most famous child trafficker. Literally. She went down to Haiti and she went down there and kidnapped a bunch of kids. The first time she did, most people don't know this, she did it twice. The first time she went down there, she got caught by the government, and they kind of smacked her on the hand and, let her go. She was trying to take kids from Haiti into the Dominican Republic, and she got caught. She goes back home, and she lived right there in Idaho, right outside of Boise in a town called Meridian. And she did it again after there was a big the big earthquake in Haiti, and kind of demolished the entire country. Then all of a sudden, hey, perfect timing. So we have great cover. Let's go down there and steal some more kids. And it was all under that auspices, all under the guise, rather. We're going down there and we're saving these kids who are orphans. And they kidnapped 33 children, and all 33 of them had parents. So not a single one of them was an orphan. It was just a pure, flat out lie. But this all came to, public knowledge with the Wikipedia leaks, or when, not Wikipedia, but the WikiLeaks, when Julian Assange released all of Hillary Clinton's emails, and there were conversations between Laura Silsby and Hillary Clinton detailing logistics of how you're going to get these children out of Haiti back to Boise, Idaho, by way of Nevada, by the way, brother, where you're at. Wow. And so that was the whole plan, get them out of Haiti to Las Vegas to Boise, Idaho. And this was all detailed in there with all these funky code words that people, are trying to decode what all that stuff means.
Sure.
Well, anyhow, she goes down there, kidnaps 33 children. The Haitian government stops her again, puts her in jail. So now she's in a Haitian prison for the express reason of trafficking children. That's why she's there. And we can talk to more details about who her lawyer was, who was also a child trafficker, and her lawyer's wife, who's in jail in El Salvador for sex trafficking girls all around the Caribbean. And so she's a child trafficker. She's connected to two other, child traffickers. And the Clintons themselves stepped in to personally negotiate her release with the Haitian government. Imagine that. So
wasn't that 2010 though, right?
With the Clintons because of the emails, but whether those emails existed or not, they came in and risked their own reputation to personally ensure her release. Just think about that.
Yeah.
And so anyhow, what happens? She gets released and she goes back to Idaho. And when she goes back to Idaho, she first goes to work for a company. And you can't make this stuff up, guys. Like, you can't make this stuff up.
I mean, just go on Grok, guys. Type in Laura Silsby, read. Just do a quick cursory read. You'll understand.
So she goes back. She works for a company in Eagle, Idaho. And the company she works for is literally the company that has a federal contract to do the software for the Amber Alerts. So the Amber Alerts is basically that alert system you have on your cell phone and all over the when you're going on the freeway and you see those electronic signs to alert when a child has been kidnapped. So the whole purpose of Amber Alerts is to allegedly prevent child kidnap. And yet the woman who's the executive vice president of marketing is the world's most famous child kidnapper. I mean, how does this work? So what's really going on behind closed doors here, right? The company is called AlertSense. They later got bought out by a different company. But that's all we knew about her, and that's what was promoted for all the people. And then it all gets into Pizzagate and all that kind of stuff. But after all that was said and done, brother, Laura Silsby gets married, changes her last name to Laura Gayler, Gayler. And yes, she is currently on payroll taking foster care children.
That's amazing.
In CPS in Idaho. It's that wicked, that deep. There's literally one step connection away from the Clintons.
I mean, and just look, and then you go from there to the Biden administration. They trafficked, that thing was like 452,000 children. People like to say, we're missing 350,000. No, the number was actually much higher. And through GSA, they had a $250 million contract to basically, they hired people to smuggle UACs or unaccompanied minors all across this country. And then they were handed off to transnational criminal organizations later to be found with pictures of half-dressed girls on WhatsApp and things like this. And they were selling them. There was a company called BOME. They used to take DNA from the children when they came across the border. So if Diego came to pick up this child, they would take your blood draw and they would say, oh yeah, you're the uncle, you're the aunt, you're the whatever. And they would give you the child. And so there was some type of a measure of protection there. Biden removed that immediately. So they and then the lady who, and if you watch A Line in the Sand, which is James O'Keefe's documentary, his whistleblower came on who worked there, and she testified in front of Congress as well. But she said, she was told directly, she said, we get sued for keeping them, not for giving them out real quick. So we don't want to keep them in facilities real long. So just whoever shows up, essentially, just give that child to them. And this is what was going on. This is, and so HHS was very complicit in the large child trafficking operation ever in history in the United States was basically, the government was complicit in.
And that was exposed during the Biden years, what's going on at the border. But for nearly 30 years now, since 1997, when the ASFA law was passed, millions, literally millions of children have been trafficked. Because someone says, what do you mean by trafficked? Well, let's talk about the definition of the word trafficking. When we say that you're trafficking a child, all that means is two things: that you kidnapped a child. In other words, you took a child by force, and then you sent that child away to someone else for money. So when you sold that child off for money, that's child trafficking by definition. So it doesn't matter if a cop does it or if a doctor does it, it's still child trafficking. If a doctor takes a child away from the family and then sells it to some other people and they receive money in the process of putting that child in somebody's other home, that's child trafficking by definition. Just because the government does it, it doesn't sanctify it. In fact, it makes it even worse.
Right.
And this is exactly what's going on. And once you understand this, you understand any and every single child, whether it's my grandchild, your son, somebody else's child, it doesn't matter. The government is incentivized to take them. They want to. They're getting paid. Every single office within the government institution, including, doctors. You guys understand that pretty much all of healthcare in the United States, it's allopathic, healthcare. I don't mean the little clinic on the corner, but I mean anybody who's receiving Medicare, Medicaid, or doing anything connected to the government. It's all subsidized by the government, and they are essentially the equivalent of an NGO, right? These guys are all arms of the government. Everyone, every big,
correct. They essentially sign a contract to follow certain criteria in order to get paid. Therefore, they become a non-government organization.
So I would just tell for folks out there who think that we're so awesome because we have
churches.
Say it again.
Including churches.
Yeah, I would say when we think that we're so awesome, we're so much better than like a communist country. Well, I agree, communism is horrible, and we're so much better than a socialist country. I agree, socialism is terrible, but there's no such thing as a pure capitalist country, and I don't even believe in capitalism. I believe in a free market, and there's a difference, and most people don't know the difference, but whatever. We don't have time to have that conversation. The point is this. When we have all these corporations that are just one step away from government control, it's the same thing, but worse, because you're under the assumption that these are private institutions, but they're under government control. So if you're in China, you say, well, China controls their version of Facebook, whatever its name is over there. So over here, Facebook might be a private company, but the government controls it behind the scenes. So therefore, it's not public what's going on behind the scenes. And this is the whole thing, is let's hide corruption behind a thin veneer of a private organization, a private institution, but the government's controlling it behind the scenes. So how's the
only way you can get away with that is if you make sure that the public face, the place where people are getting their information so that they know what's going on, is also co-opted, because you can't be exposed in the process.
That's right.
So you have to have Fox News and CNN and all CBS, NBC, and the rest. You have to have them all in line with what you're doing, because if not, the whole thing falls apart. You and I can sit here and talk about this till we're blue in the face, and we can bring up all the receipts for everything that we're saying, and a lot of people will watch us, and they'll think it's interesting at best, right? Interesting, something to watch. I know. And then, but the moment that Sean Hannity, and I'm not taking a shot at Sean, I was just with him a couple of weeks ago at dinner. I'm not a big fan of Fox. Yes, I said it. I call it faux news because they walk up to the line of conservatism, or give the appearance of, and they don't actually cross the line. But if it weren't for those people making sure that we remain docile and uninformed, and we only take the news but so far, and we just make sure it doesn't cross this particular line, then everyone is docile. But if they repeat what you and I just now talked about, what you just said, if that was on tonight's news, right, for some reason, the public at large automatically takes it serious. It's real all of a sudden. But if we're talking about it, it's interesting at best. If they say it, all of a sudden it's real. And that needs to change. And I think that the Mockingbird media is losing its grip. Most people don't trust them anymore. They don't trust them.
I agree wholeheartely. And that's why I love what you're doing, what all these podcasters are doing. They are losing their grip. And now you're starting to see, the FBI, CIA, whoever, starting to take over all these podcasts. People are starting to get bought out there because they have to see where all it is. But it's so easy to see, brother, because of this. Look, what's that?
They've already done it. I mean, Fox has a podcast. CNN has podcasts. They're trying
because they need to control every medium where people communicate. That's the bottom line. Yep. But in terms of whether some say, well, I don't think they could control everybody. Well, here's how easy it is to prove that they're controlling everybody. When they wanted to get rid of fake vaccine information during COVID to make sure that nobody knew the truth about COVID, they freaking expunged everything related to COVID from the entire face of planet Earth. Nobody could say anything. Every video is gone on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, everywhere. You could not get and you could not find true information about ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine or about the vaccines being bad, or even the story COVID. Everything, it was gone, completely wiped off the face of the internet. So that shows us they could do that. But then you ask yourself the question: all right, if they have the power to do it and they can do it practically in real time, right? Upload a video to YouTube, and before the video even posts, it's already blocked. But yet they can't get rid of child porn off of the internet. They can't get rid of perversion and filth and smut and garbage and everything else imaginable.
They put it in the elementary school libraries, books like Queer Gender, and then they defend it, and it's despicable.
So they've proven to us that they're capable, and they've also then proven to us then what they actually want, because what they allow to continue to be fed to all of us, they want that there because we know that they're capable of eliminating it. So when they don't, you know that's what they want. So you're 100% right. And this is exactly what we see happening very specifically when it comes to CPS. Why? Because everybody's of the propagandized mindset that the government can do no wrong and they would never harm you and never harm any of your children until they come knocking at your door. And they come knocking at your door and people learn the hard way. Yeah. They learn the hard way so fast because they think if I just obey and if I just comply, then nothing bad is going to happen to me. I'm going to have my day in court, or they're going to learn that I'm a good parent and I haven't done anything wrong. And nothing could be further from the truth. Yeah. And by the time they're done with you, your life is so destroyed and so ripped apart. And do you have any idea if an innocent family has a child taken from them for no reason whatsoever? We don't have statistics because, again, they're not going to keep or publish statistics on this, but I can just tell you from anecdotal evidence from the amount of people who've contacted us. I was
actually going to ask you about if there were any statistical analysis done on this particular issue.
No, there's not, because, obviously, and even if there was, they wouldn't publish it.
Yeah, I couldn't find it.
What I'm going to get to right now is, do you have any idea what that does to the relationship of those parents? How many of them get divorced? How many of them commit suicide? It's unbelievable. That the story that broke big time, which is the very first case in American history that we're aware of, which was a documentary on Netflix that came out last year called Take Care of Maya, or Taking Care of Maya. I can't remember which one. You can look it up on Netflix. And it was a story very uncannily similar to Baby Cyrus's story, where a family had their child taken from her, and her name was Maya. And the mother kept very detailed records of the entire process because she was a nurse. And to make a long story short, because of the emotional destruction that she endured by having her daughter taken away, she committed suicide, feeling it was the only way that potentially her daughter could be freed from the system. And so they made a documentary about it. And because the documentary was made, it was the first time ever that a hospital had financial damages that they lost in a lawsuit. Had this documentary not been made, it would all got brushed under the rug like every single other time. But people are starting to see it. They're starting to see it's exposed. Because here's what's happened, Eddie. Back in the early 2000s,
it's hard not to empathize as you tell these stories. It's hard not to internalize the emotion of the people that you're describing. I mean, it's just my personality type anyways. Just when you
got kids,
describe I do, grandchildren too.
Okay.
So,
congratulations. You look young like me. So you started young. I got 5 grandchildren. And so it's best to have grandkids when you're young. So here's my question to you. If you or your kids who have kids, if your child was taken away from you, ripped away from you at the point of the gun, what would you do the next day? What would be your emotional state?
Well, I mean, knowing me in my own past, they'd have to kill me to do it to begin with. That's just my take on it.
I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. And of course, that has actually happened to some people from time to time. But the point is, let's say they killed you. They killed you, and then they still took your kid. So then how's your wife going to do after that? Now you're gone. Her kid's gone. Now what's her state emotionally? And then what's her state with everybody around her? And then, how stable and how emotionally stable is she going to be? And how logical is she going to be?
Well, that's the next weapon.
Down and her child's been taken.
That's the next weapon they would probably use against the parent at that point. They're not emotionally stable enough because of the damage we caused them emotionally. Now she's on antidepressants or whatever the case may be, or in therapy. She's not fit to be a mom because of the damage that you did in the process of taking the child away. So it's like they get you coming and going. It's like a double-edged sword.
They absolutely do. And it's just so destructive. People don't know until they've experienced it. You know, the main two reasons, and I gave you the first reason why, you know, Baby Cyrus' story was a big one. But the main two reasons why this it didn't just explode, but people were supporting this, was that generally speaking, for the early 2000s and the teens, CPS had been targeting single mothers and minority single mothers, Black girls, Hispanic girls, you know, girls 16, 17, 18 years old. Forgive the sound of me saying it crude, but she got knocked up on the streets. Remember, I was a pastor for an inner city church, so my church was full of this type of thing. And they have a child out of wedlock. They have no family support. They have no support. They don't have a husband. And
no one to take their side, no one to go to battle for them. They were
who's going to fight for them?
Yeah,
who?
Easy targets.
It's an easy target. They've been doing that for literally to millions of children and these young girls.
And it's just the risk of being completely open and honest. I mean, when I grew up younger, I grew up in the inner city of Baltimore. Okay. Terrible, terrible, terrible city. I mean,
and you were a white guy in the inner city of Baltimore?
Yeah, there was a few of us. And so I mean, I had it was a 6, I would guess somewhere 6 out of 10 homes where, you know, someone in there was addicted to heroin. And in my home, it was both mom and dad. And, you know, the favorite pastime of people in family feuds is to call CPS on you. Oh, I'm going to call CPS on you. I mean, it happens all the time. I was one of those kids. And I remember the worker coming into the house and mom was just, I mean, just to put it out in point blank, it turned into, she woke up later in life, became a decent human being. But at that point in time, she just wasn't. And that's just being honest. She really wasn't. This and even at the age, I think I was 10 or 11, I believe, you know, I had it in the back of my mind. If these people take me and put me somewhere where I can have my own room and someone give me 3 meals a day, this might actually be a good thing. Not that I didn't love my mom, but it was a terrible situation that we were in, and it was an abusive situation. And the worker was in and out of the house in 10 minutes and did nothing. And I was just like, you know, when I hear your story, I'm like, okay, I seen both sides of this, where like there were actual instances of real abuse and neglect, and they do nothing.
So there's two reasons for this, brother. And I'm glad you bring it up, because first of all, you know, when you were 10 or 11 years old, this is before 1997, right? So
yeah, definitely.
This is before ASFA, and ASFA changed everything. It absolutely changed everything. And this is another problem I think that people have contextually, because there so many people, when you're older, you have the context of when I was young, it was like this. Right. I remember when it was like this. Well, things have changed. Everything's different now. It's not the same way. So that's one of the major reasons why people have that contextual, you know, difficulty in recognizing just how wicked and evil CPS is. It's like thinking back, you know, how innocent was public school in 1955? You know, what's public school like today? You know what I'm saying?
And so, tell you to bring a pocket knife to school to sharpen your pencils while you were in class. Now you bring a pocket knife to school and you're kicked out of school.
And back then they actually taught you like your reading, writing, and arithmetic, and now they teach you how to cut off your weenie and put on a condom and all types of, teach you that Heather has 2 mommies. And everything is pure social engineering, and they don't know how to do basic math. They can't even do basic addition and subtraction. It's just unbelievable. But that's public school today.
Cursive or any of that. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, they can't do any of that. And so that's the one side of it. But there's the other side of this, brother, is that CPS doesn't want to take messed up kids. Just think about it. If those children are damaged, if you're selling these kids, if your ultimate goal is to sell these kids and put them in a child trafficking,
so you're looking at them in terms of product. Okay.
They are a product.
Yeah.
And I had, you know, a close friend of ours, the night that Baby Cyrus was kidnapped, we were at a close friend of ours' house because we're getting ready to leave Idaho. And this is our, you know, going away meal with a friend of ours who is a retired cop and an ex-Marine. And we were talking about a lot of these things. And he was talking to us, well, the way things actually are, and on and on and on. And he told us a story after the fact. He's like, dude, because he watched when Baby Cyrus was physically kidnapped. He watched before his eyes. It was a major red pill moment for him, because he was of the mind that American police officers could do no wrong and would never do any wrong, because you have no idea how hard it is to be a cop. And and afterwards he says, bro, you have no idea how many times I've been in the home where a guy is snorting a line right there and the kid's right there. I'm like, let me take him. Like, nope, can't take him. We can't take him. Yeah. I mean, what are you talking about? He said, these people right here, they've done nothing wrong. These people are abusive. They're doing drugs in front of my face. And I'm a cop and I can arrest him, but we can't take the kid away and put him somewhere safe. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And ultimately, the end result is this. If that child is a product, who wants used gum?
Yeah.
Right.
Same thing as,
and
like,
so they
for
want
me, I think CPS would step in
and innocent and haven't been touched and haven't been harmed. They don't want someone who's a drug baby, who's been abused and who's been molested and who's damaged.
I often wonder why CPS doesn't step in these instances where a mom has 4 children and they're all below the age of 5, but they're all trans, or the kid thinks it's a damn cat. So now the school is obliging the kid and they have a damn litter box in a certain area. I mean, this is really happening. And
But that's part of the social engineering structure that they want. They want that. They think that's wonderful. And here's the thing, and Ryan details this in the documentary, that this is from their documentation themselves, that homosexual couples, as we mentioned earlier, are 7 times more likely to get their children from CPS adoption than heterosexual couples.
Yeah, they stepped in and
that's
stopped
their
Catholic
source.
charities. I mean, the Catholic, they because the Catholics wouldn't adopt out to homosexual couples, so they stepped
the government
in
only does.
Yeah.
So where
and
they
not
get
that
those
I'm
kids
Catholic
from
or anything
CPS.
like that.
And they have a financial incentive based on the ASFA law to do so, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, it's right there in the ASFA law. They get a bonus when they adopt your child out. So they don't want them necessarily to stay in foster care. They get bonused by selling them off in adoption. And who are they selling them off to? Queers.
That's crazy.
That's just, and guess who promotes that? That's not me saying that. Guess who tells us that? The queer organizations themselves. That's in their documentation. Like, we're looking, look what they're doing. They've got that, and it's we've got the receipts on our website, and it's in Ryan's documentary. He shows you where you can get all this stuff. He shows you right there. If you're a homosexual and you want to buy a baby, they tell you where to go, and they're all proud of it. Guess what? If you need one, great. You can go to CPS, and they're going to give you a baby. They'll sell you a baby. It's absolutely disgusting, but that's what they share with you. So
where can I pull that up at? I want to show that.
Go to babycyrus.com.
Because I know people are going to see this on either side and they're going to question it. And so I'm here. And today, after 2-year anniversary, government subsidized child trafficking. What do you have it under?
So you go down, scroll down a little further.
Okay.
And there should be something that says, let's see, where would that be? That would be under videos. So if you go down a little further, there's going to be like probably Ryan's documentary, and underneath there's going to say, click here for Baby Cyrus menu and navigation.
So I went way too far down. So click here for navigation. Got it right there.
And then there's going to be an entire, so click on videos is probably the best place to show it to you. In fact, let me try to bring it up so I can find the best place for you as well. Okay. Yeah, this is probably the best place to show it to you.
I'm there.
And then, or maybe that's not the one right there. Yeah. So yeah, right there, that top video says, here's the overview of what happened. And then underneath that, or no, you can't click that video. Where in the world is that? We literally just had all this just updated. We had to move from one server to another one.
But I can.
Here we go. No, I found it. Okay. So what you want to do is at the very top on the navigation, there's another button that says video. That was the video I wanted you to go to. And so when you click on there, it'll say video resources. And the very first link says how to prevent your kids from being kidnapped by CPS.
The very first link I see is webinar replay. Yeah, it's exactly right.
Yep, that's the one. And underneath that video, there's all of the documentation. So you can get a PDF copy. Just click that and you'll get the PDF copy. Has all the links to everything in the presentation. And there's some additional downloads beneath that, like The Corrupt Business of Child Protective Services by Senator Nancy Schaefer, The Doctor's Third Leading Cause of Death in America, the CPS Child Maltreatment Summary of Findings. But if you download that PDF right there, on that PDF, that is going to have all of the statistics and all of the links and everything that we just described.
Okay, so I'm gonna pull this PDF up and I'm just gonna do a keyword search so we can hone in on the exact portion of the PDF that talks about this particular issue. Or do they label it under LGBT, or do they?
I can read it for you right here because I'm in front of my computer. So here we go. CPS and gays. Is there a way that I can?
And you can share. You can share. There's a present button on your side. You can pull it up.
Perfect. Because I've got it right here in front of me. And yeah.
Because this is the kind of stuff that they would absolutely be like, hey, that's propaganda, that and that. And people don't realize how, this is the kind of evil that's actually going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Ryan and I talked about the fact that even people that make Megan's list, those people that have to be on the child sex offender registry, if they have not offended within, I think it's a matter of 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah, if it's beyond 5 years, they can actually go and start getting children from the foster system. So here you are. That's absolutely sickening to me, and most people don't know that. And it's a true statement.
Yep. So I'm going to send this to you right here because this is actually everything in one file. So this is the this is probably the most important and valuable resource that folks could share or have with them is this document. This how to prevent your kids from being kidnapped by CPS. So there's that entire presentation that you can see right there on our website. And then in addition to that, we have the entire presentation, which is, I got it right here. I'm looking at it. I can bring it up so your folks can see it as well.
Here's one. There's just, so people don't believe that this is just like his sourcing, or you're looking at like kind of a single source for information. I pulled it up on Grok, and it's literally right here. And so if you're like, for those that would question whether or not what we're talking about is actually true, I'm going to show this to you on the screen. I'm going to pull it up, and you can see it. It even tells you how much money right there. And it says as of 2024, they were getting $16,810 per child. Slightly higher if the child is available to any qualifying adoptive parent married to the same sex. Oh my God. You're looking at it right there, guys. This is absolutely, this is the social engineering. That's what it is. It's social engineering.
How do I share?
You should have a present button on your side, on the bottom.
Share screen. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. So let's try this out. Share screen. And here's this window right here. Perfect. So can you see it now?
You have to actually add it to the stage. So hover over it on the bottom.
Oh, there's a little thing right there. It just says edit name.
If you go to the center of what you just shared, right? Is that it?
There we go. Okay, perfect. So you can go to this website right now. So this is a pro-homosexual advocacy website called the Family Equality Council. And you can see the link right there on the bottom of the page, and there's a screenshot. And it says right there, same-sex couples raising children are 7 times more likely than their different-sex counterparts to be raising an adopted child. And then you go deeper into their documentation. Where do they get that adopted child? From CPS. So that 7 times more likelihood is literally saying we're taking those children from you guys. We're taking those children from you heterosexual parents who we've taken these children away from you, and they're getting them through adoption.
So my whole thing
is not me saying it. This is them proudly asserting this.
This is starting to really bring things into focus for me, because I've always wondered, why are they allowing the craziness to take place that we see happening in the world? And I never really had a reason for it other than causing chaos. But now what I'm starting to see the reason is money and profit in child trafficking.
It is money and profit in child trafficking. And I would say, of course, it's power and perversion, right? So these guys are sick. They're twisted. They're perverts. And anything else, this exact document right here, I can send this one to you. I have it for different states. I have a general one. I have one for Idaho. I have one for Florida. We could have one made for Nevada because there's specific things that will be specific to your state. Mm-hmm. But all the documentation that's in Ryan's documentary and more, everything we say we're receipts for, it's all right here. The links are there to all of them. It's all there.
I mean,
with all this is, God made it very simple, brother, in Exodus 21:16. And he says this, and in fact, I think I had it up here. Yeah. I'll read the NIV version because it uses the term kidnap. The old school says to steal a man. But Exodus 21:16 says, anyone who kidnaps another and either sells him or still has him when he is caught must be put to death. That means this.
Whoever steals a man and sells him to anyone found in possession of him shall be put to death.
Yeah, so God has already judged kidnap as being a capital crime. So of all the capital crimes in the Bible, there's 10 of them or something like that. One of them is kidnap. If you kidnap somebody else, and the Bible says whether you trafficked him, meaning you sold him, or you just had him in your possession, when we caught you, you need to be put to death because kidnapping is a capital crime, period, end of sentence. And who's participating in this? Police officers, doctors, hospitals, judges, the Health and Human Services Organization, which is federal, and every single state has.
And that's been stated by the current administration on TV for everyone to hear. You heard RFK Jr. sit in that room in that Joint Chiefs staff meeting they had and said HHS was complicit. I mean, and that wasn't like we think they were. We were investigating whether or not they were. He said HHS was complicit. Now, who was running HHS at the time? Because they wanted us to believe that RFK was he's the crazy one, right? They consistently want to point he's not qualified, he's crazy. He shouldn't be running HHS. He's all of these things, and then they forget. Very, very quickly, they forget that the previous person who was running HHS was this individual. And I'm going to pull up a quick video of Ricky Levine. Did you know that they literally went on the wall where Mr. Levine's picture was and actually changed the name from Rachel back to Richard? They just recently did that. And I mean, this is the proclamation that Trump made at the inauguration. Okay. I mean, right after, which was that there are only 2 sexes. And anyone that holds public office right now at all, anybody who says they can't define to you what a woman is, should immediately be expelled from office. So here it is.
Absolutely.
So you got to look at this video, and this is not AI. I'm going to qualify that. It's not AI.
Hour of equinox right, equinox balance of day and night.
That is the former head of HHS. And you're thinking,
Well,
what the hell did I
what do you
just see?
expect?
What the hell did I just look at? What did I just see? Right? This is, but RFK is not qualified. But this person gets to dress up like a Harry Potter caricature and go out in the woods and put spells on rocks. This is the level of insanity on the left. And here's the trick. I think this is what it boils down to. It's like one side is so bad, and so I mean, right through your optics, you can see the evil. From just mutilating children, just corrupting family values, so on and so forth. Hell, Kamala's family only one generation ago were selling people.
Yep.
And so we're looking at this party, and then it's like it's a very easy to make you run the other direction and vote the other way, right? And then all of a sudden, this is where it gets even. This is how just absolutely maniacal the whole thing is. Then they expect you, okay, he's better than Biden, better than Kamala, that's still not arguable. I mean, he is regardless. But then they expect you to have no more criticisms beyond that because we're still better off than what we would have been. So we should just be happy, right? So we're not supposed to question the fact that Bongino is now saying Epstein hung himself and how they threw Marjorie Taylor Greene all the way under the bus just for doing what she said that they all were going to do, which was release the Epstein files, which was a pedophile ring of a man who was honeypot trapping leaders of industry, banking, world leaders, royal family members. And these are, and then I heard people online, I mean, literally in debate saying, why do you care what he did in his bedroom? Hold up. Wait, we're not talking about with just regular what people did in their bedroom. We're talking about a list of very prominent, powerful world leaders, actors in Hollywood, Lex Wessner's, Larry Summers, Ro Khanna, who literally was sit there alongside the victims, alongside Thomas Massey and Marjorie Taylor Greene, fighting to get the list released. Obviously didn't believe that the list was going to get released because he was on it. That's how maniacal they are. That's how maniacal they are. So you think, oh, I'm going to choose the lesser of the two evils, and then I'll just stop asking questions. I won't criticize anymore. When you're describing laws like this ASFA law, which is in place that allows them to profit off of taking your child and essentially trafficking children of good parents for healthy children and profiting from it and stealing the rights away from parents. And if you complain about it too much, then you're ostracized from the right and or the left because we got these two squares that everyone is got to be in one or the other. And exactly. Here we are like, no, there's a third square, and it's just called the truth. And it cuts right down the middle of all the BS. And it's usually just left standing there all alone because too many people are afraid to tell the truth because they don't want their side, their team, the guys with their team jerseys to turn against them. So they're just quiet. I respect Ryan. I respect people like Ian Carroll. I respect people like Candace Owens who say the things they do, knowing very well the criticism that's going to come because they took this kind of stand. But Christ said, hey, they hated me first. So, if you're being persecuted, if you're being hated on, if people are whatever, just know that, that's probably when you're over the sore spot. You're doing something right and don't stop.
If you can bring up my screen here again really quick, this is probably one of the most important things to show right here because this kind of goes along with what you're saying, and this is part of the presentation we give. When I talk about this child trafficking ring, this is kind of a visual representation about it, and people just don't understand when we talk about funding. One of the very critical points that Ryan makes in that documentary that people need to watch is he has a great demonstration. At some point in time, I talked about the fact that once you give an incentive to people to, once you give an incentive to any institution in order to do anything, you're going to get more of that. And then he brings in Milton Friedman making that argument. And that argument is very simple. As soon as you incentivize something that people are going to give a financial incentive, you're going to get more of it. You're going to get more of it. So if you make a financial incentive to kidnap children, you're going to get more of it. And what people don't understand is, well, That's just like for one group or here. What they don't understand is how in the world could everybody be involved in this? I just don't understand that. It doesn't make sense to people. Well, it makes a whole lot of sense, first of all, once you understand how government works and how everybody's out just to save their own jobs. You have to do whatever you do to protect your own jobs because you cannot allow funding to go away, then you don't have a job anymore.
I mean, they do that with everything. I mean, you could take any conspiracy theory back to the Gulf of Tonkin incident, the USS Liberty incident, hell, even 9/11. And they'll tell you, well, if you don't believe the official story, you're crazy because that would mean the whole government was in on it. And how could that possibly be the case? Even though, I mean, the stories they give us got holes in them bigger than Swiss cheese. And yet the argument is, well, that can't be the case because then that means everyone's in on it and everyone's evil. Well, guys, wake up.
Yeah, and of course, that's even a little bit of a straw man's argument that for them to say that because nobody is saying every single last person. You know, you don't have to have every single last police officer in America. Every last one of them is dirty. But as a whole, they all operate a certain way. It's like, are you saying every single teacher is in on this social engineering? Not every single teacher wants to teach kids to be transgender. We're not saying that, but the institution as a whole is pushing that. And teachers are not stopping it. They're not backing up. You know, they're not resisting it. And the same thing.
I'm going to lose my insurance. I'm going to lose my job.
I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose everything. So they just shut their mouth and do what they're told.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is exactly what happened with GSA. When James O'Keefe did his documentary, and he went up to these people that had these white buses with the windows blacked out full of illegal immigrants and unaccompanied minors, and he walked up with his cameras and his microphone, and people would say, listen, man, I'm just doing my job. But yet today, I mean, if a Nazi gave that excuse prior to Nuremberg, hey, I was just following orders. Is that all of a sudden, is that acceptable? Because the amount of people that are, euthanized and the amount of death that have been caused and all that, I think far exceeds what took place in World War II at this point in history. Probably.
And so bring this slide back up. I'll show you how this works. And I don't know if people can see my mouse or not, but it doesn't matter.
There you go.
So it starts with the federal government, and it starts very specifically with Social Security Title IV. When a child is taken away from you, and it has to be physically taken away. So when you watch the video of my grandson being taken away from his mom, which is my daughter, you know, people still, this is a part that freaked everybody out. Like, why didn't that cop let Marissa, my daughter, go with Baby Cyrus? And they just can't get their head around it. It doesn't make any sense. You know, why did that happen that way? And nobody can wrap their head around that part. And once I explain it to you, it's because if you do not separate the child from the parent, you get no money, period. There has to be a separation from the parent or funding is not available. There's a whole checklist of things that they have to go off. Check.
Also, that's when the ability to make decisions for the child falls into the lap of the government because the parents.
Both of those things happen. The first thing that happens is, boom, instantaneously, money is now available to the state. After that money is made available to the state, the child has to have, and the parents have to go to what is called a shelter care hearing, where a judge within usually 24 to 48 hours has to rule on whether the child is going to go back with the parents or the child is going to go into state custody. And it's a rubber stamp. It's every time it goes straight into state custody, period, end of sentence. Why? Because you keep following this list. There's no more money made available if you give the child back to the parents. So it has to be separated. So therefore, everybody's incentivized. You come down here, you see where it's police. Police are the ones who will be physically taking that child away. Mm-hmm. Well, a police agent and a police agency is not going to get a check directly from CPS for every child they take. But what happens is there are programs and funding mechanisms from the federal government that says, hey, you guys, Meridian Police Agency, how many children did you have to take away from their parents this year? Well, we had to do this many. Okay, great. You then now can receive this huge block of money because you had to do this additional work in order to protect babies. So everybody had these quotas in order to be able to get money from different programs. So the money is all over the place. It all comes from the federal government, who's at the top, and then people get to put their hand in the cookie jar if they participate in the process. Who pays the ambulance? Well, the federal government. It doesn't come straight from CPS, but because they had to take that child away, they're going to get paid. It goes to the hospital. The hospital also doesn't get direct payments from CPS, and we never claimed that they did. But guess what they get to do with your child once they have the child in your custody? anything they want to, and it's all going to be paid for by Medicaid or Medicare. So it's a literal blank check. Do everything you want to do with this child, anything imaginable, and whatever it costs, the federal government has to pay for it. This is millions, multiple millions of dollars that they're getting raking in every single year, hospitals, by taking these kids in. Did you know that almost every single major hospital in America, the big allopathic hospitals, have a CPS social worker with an office on site?
Yeah, this much I did know. This much I did know.
Why would they do that? Why would they do that unless they are financially incentivized? Hey, go around and find any woman in here who we can easily take advantage of. We can take their kids away. And then, of course, you can see over here, well, then finally they get to foster care. Foster care are direct payments from the Department of Health and Welfare in all these different particular states. It's named something different. And then you come over here to these endless programs. What are these endless programs? Things like parental training, psychological evaluations, abuse training, sensitivity training, conflict resolution, on and on and on. Many of them have big, gigantic pools of money available with the federal government. Some of them are paid for by the parents. So now the parents themselves, you are going to be forced to go through parental training. You got to pay for it. Psychological evaluation, abuse training, sensitivity training, conflict resolution, and you have to pay for it. And you have to get a certification from some parental training institute that itself exists because of a government grant that gives all these weird social freaks, these purple-haired women who have cats and hate men, and they're going to teach you sensitivity training and conflict resolution, and you got to pay them $250 for your certification.
Yeah.
And without that certification, you ain't going to get your kid back.
Yeah.
And so it's millions and millions of dollars, and all the way back to the judges, and we can go through the entire process. Once you see this graphic, and you can say, oh, everybody's incentivized because without this cycle continuing, they're ultimately going to be out of a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
imagine,
so this is where it
imagine.
goes all the way around, and I
It's a whole underground economy
in the presentation that you guys can watch there. How to prevent your kids from being kidnapped.
This is an underground economy that exists in the trafficking world, and it's the same thing like what I was saying with GSA. It's a whole funding mechanism that the federal government, just all these people are benefiting at every end. And I mean, you already know when they started splitting up things like USIP and USAID, and all the corruption that was involved there, how they tried to spin that and how many people were going to lose their jobs. And I'm sure that's exactly what they're going to do here if and whenever somebody ever steps in and stops this, is that they're going to spin this in some way, shape, or form to say whoever is doing this is putting children at risk, and they're also taking jobs away from people. And it's a tragedy that's really the case. I mean,
well, it's very difficult, brother, to calculate how much each child is worth, but people have tried to do it. And they've tried to do it by using, rough numbers based on getting data points here and there and here and there.
What do they come up with?
It's roughly a $60 to $80 billion industry, but every single child is worth approximately $1 to $3 million to all the government institutions that you see up right here. So just think, every single time they take a child, all these different people putting their hands in the cookie jar, it's $1 to $3 million. And I know for a fact when they had Baby Cyrus in their possession for 3 days, the hospital had him for 3 days. We have in our lawsuit a testimony from one of the paid experts that they had testifying against us, that because I asked for discovery and they didn't give me the discovery. They would not tell me how much money they earned from Baby Cyrus, which is, they have to give it to me. But instead of giving it to me, they just got the judge to make a default judgment against me in claims of defamation. So I did not get any of the discovery I demanded from them. But what we do know is in the paperwork that I do have, that paid witness says that she saw receipts for Baby Cyrus for 3 days for $30,000. And they were trying to say, oh, look, this hospital took care of it without charging the family. They billed Medicaid for $30,000 for having Baby Cyrus for 3 days. So imagine Baby Cyrus was there for 3 days and they billed $30,000 to Medicaid or Medicare, whatever one it was. Well, imagine when they have the baby for in custody of CPS or part of their entire foster care system for 10 years or 15 years, and they've sold the child off into adoption ultimately. And they have Medicare and Medicaid and judges and police and cops. Everybody's involved. The doctors and doctors' visits. It's all covered.
What do you know?
Our tax dollars.
What do you know about the Trevor Project?
I don't know anything about it.
Okay. So I was desk scrolling one night, and a lady that worked for the school system had heard several, I guess, kids were referred to this thing they call the Trevor Project. And then one of the kids that came to her and told her, well, they called the Suicide Prevention Hotline, which is a text form. Suicide Prevention Hotline refers all these children over to the Trevor Project.
Okay.
I'm going to pull the Trevor Project up here so you understand, and then I'll share my own experience of when I went undercover and what happened. So I went undercover as, I believe I told him I was like a 14-year-old boy who was whose mom and dad obviously did not agree with my lifestyle or whatever, and I was afraid that if I told them that I was this is who I was or whatever, I would be ostracized from my home or what have you, right? So this is, and I'm trying to figure how, there it is. Yeah, it was hiding from me. So I'm on the line, I'm texting with this, and it's all on my X page. I actually screen recorded the entire conversation. This individual said, okay, we're not going to tell your parents. Don't tell your parents. They told me to keep this secret from my parents. Then they sent me a link to this place called the Trevor Project. Okay. And the Trevor Project are a list of chat rooms. Okay. And they're all for all different things, for furries, for trans, for grown people who identify as kids, right? They're just every kind of weird mental illness you can think of. But the thing is that there was no age verification in these chat rooms. So the Suicide Prevention Hotline are sending children, telling them they're not going to tell their parents, into these places here where damn sure there are predators just waiting. And your kids are, from the Suicide Prevention Hotline, are being sent into this area here. So let me see if I can even pull up. So if I were to go in here and I say meet friends, as you can see, like this is what we're doing. And all of this, if you go into the counselor and you talk or call, all of it is kept from mom and dad. Mom and dad have no idea. This is all government funded. Okay. And I mean, once you get inside, once you get like a login, you go through the process and you actually log in, the list of chat rooms will turn your stomach. And this is all like what your child will get nationwide if they go onto the Suicide Prevention Hotline.
Yeah, so I mean, they've set this whole thing up just so that, pedophiles and traffickers have direct access to their prey.
All I can tell people is just like what we started off with. Folks, this is a spiritual war.
Well, let me talk about that one step further, brother, because you're 100% right. We talked about this on the documentary, but we mentioned earlier that historically they were coming after, single mothers and minority. I use the term minority here in air quotes, but that's what they're going after, minority mothers. The anecdotal evidence we have in the last 5+ years is that they are now targeting, number one at the top of the list is what they call anti-vaxxers, anybody who does not comply with the vaccination schedule.
I'm in that 20%.
What's that?
I'm in that 20%. So happily.
Okay, so you and your listeners are not going to like what I have to say, but I'm here to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, brother. And that is number one, they are going after anti-vaxxers, are going after Christians, anybody on the right wing, libertarians, non-compliant folks, people who are homeschoolers and do not put their children in public school. Anybody who is somebody who questions the government or is non-compliant with the government, you're the ones now being targeted. So if you're a Christian, if you homeschool, if you are not vaccinated, if you're a right winger, if you listen to Patriots Prayer Network, if you have a red hat on from time to time, all of those things make you now a target in the last 5 years. I would imagine here, and
check all those boxes.
Listening to your show, check all those boxes.
Yeah, I check every one of those boxes. I want everyone to get a quick little glimpse. I'm gonna give you just like quick little glimpse of Ryan's is Never in America real quick, guys. This is just the intro to it. It is over on YouTube. If you just go over there to Ryan's channel, you'll get it.
How in the world does it happen by force at the point of a gun?
I brought this food. Get out of the car. Hey, you can't use me. Give me the baby, okay? I can't.
This one really made my stomach sink.
I can't even believe this story.
Cyrus, the 10-month-old baby who's been kidnapped, stripped from his loving parents by CPS.
No, go in the car. Cyrus. In the car. It's all right. It's okay.
Cyrus.
It's okay.
Cyrus.
I don't want anybody to have to endure this.
The Baby Cyrus case was the second most viral case in American history regarding CPS.
The media is not really covering this because this is, in fact, medical kidnapping.
They claim that Baby Cyrus was underweight.
The kid has lost weight.
Take the baby away.
Get the baby out with CPS to the foster parents.
They were willing to release Baby Cyrus to a foster family.
I won't let him go.
Okay.
It offers financial incentives to the states that increase adoption numbers.
There's billions of dollars to be had just from the federal government if you take the kids out.
They are profiting off of it.
There's nothing more evil, there's nothing more wicked than what I call child profiting systems.
Guys, you got to go see this. I tell you what, this was, when I watched it, it was, we were in the living room. It was Thanksgiving. And I knew about the movie being made a long time before it was ever released. Ryan was talking to me about it. When we were in Idaho, we were right in front of the Capitol building. Right? And he was talking to a few people there about getting interviews and such to someone else just jump in our podcast. I heard a noise like somebody logged into the studio, but I guess not. No, he had told me about it. And so I saw the preview. The preview was enough to just gotta see this. So it's midday. The whole house smells like goodness and food and whatnot like that. And I'm sitting there and I'm just enamored. I just can't take my eyes off of this. And my mother-in-law, my wife, my 21-year-old daughter, right? And we can never agree on what to watch, right? We just can't. And ideologically, we're not all the same, right? My youngest daughter is definitely not where I'm at, but you got people from all different perspectives, and we're sitting there on the couch in the living room, and we're just sitting there quiet as can be for maybe like 40 minutes into this thing. And then someone, we got to go check that's how attention grabbing it is. And this is why it doesn't matter if you're on the right. It doesn't matter if you're on the left.
Agreed.
It doesn't matter. None of that matters. That's not what this is. This is a human movie. This is a movie about whether or not, you want to make sure that you have your rights as an American, as a parent, and you want to protect children. And that's it. That's all it really comes down to. And you said something in the movie that I said so many times, and it stuck out to me. And I think that's when I kind of called Ryan. I called Ryan right there on the spot. And I was like, hey, can you put me in touch with this guy? You said people showed up. One of my biggest beefs, and I just something I just get on the right about so much. It's like you guys bitch about everything, but you don't do anything. You never actually show up. The left They'll show up dressed like Barney and go to a No Kings protest to get a selfie. They'll fly all the way across the country just to say that they were there. And yet when we have things where we have people that are being, hampered by the system or attacked, or they need things, it's like the right's like, oh yeah, I agree with that. And then on with my life. And you just can't get them to show up. But you shut down the phone system. They couldn't get their work done because their email servers were overloaded. You had people show up and you got your kid back in 6 days. I mean, that's mind-blowing. That's mind-blowing because it doesn't usually happen that way. People don't show up. Maurice and I made our bones a while back off of this. Here, I'll show you something. You'll probably remember this if you watch football at all. You'll remember this. Remember this kid here? He had his face half black, half red at the Chiefs game.
I don't watch football, so no.
Okay, there was a young kid, 9 years old, right? And the Kansas City Chiefs, they have their team colors, and the kid had his face painted half black, half red, which is a typical thing you do at a Chiefs game, right?
Okay.
He's 9 years old. Reporter shows up, takes a picture of the kid from the black side of his face, puts it out all across the media. Kid's name in the article, everything. That his parents let him go to a football game in blackface. And so just here we are, this just Deadspin is out there. This the family's getting death threats, all this sort of thing. And we're like, no. So we started a fundraiser. We had the family on. We raised, I think, somewhere around $13,000. Colin Rugg and others retweeted the podcast that got saw like 18 million times. We sent this kid to the Super Bowl to sit in the front row. And our only ask to the family was, as long as he paints his face and wears the headdress. Right. So here I painted my face half black, half red. I put the headdress on too. And I just, whatever it takes to just trigger these damn people. And we didn't care. But they stepped in it because this kid's grandfather was the chief of the Chumash tribe in Southern California.
Oh, wow.
He thought he was a little white boy. And so they just stepped in it every which way they could. And now the guy who took the picture, his name was Karen Phillips. He no longer has a job. Deadspin, the media company who put this story out and did this, they no longer exist. And that's the kind of impact that we want to have. We want to see, that's what Patriot Prayer Network is. We want positive change and a positive impact. So I'm also very involved in politics. I run campaign for Theodis Daniel in Texas. He just got done with the congressional bid, but now he's going to be running unopposed, and he's already got the nomination for his next office. It's issues like what you just said that I'm going to put in his ear.
Amen.
And these are the things that we need to, as a country, right, left.
Is he at state level or federal level?
Federal.
So federal level, we need to remove ASFA. At the state level, anybody listening, you can set it up in your state to reject ASFA. If you reject ASFA at the state level, then, there's the federal government no longer has control over you. But I would like to go back really quick, if you don't mind. You said Absolutely. What I mentioned when I said people showed up.
Yeah.
And that's what really hit you. I want to give a shout out to everybody, first of all, who did show up. And then I want to describe for everybody why everybody showed up. Because, that is a miraculous thing. And we give all glory to God. We believe it was a miraculous thing that took place. But there's also context behind all of that. And one of the most important pieces of context is...
Teach me, because I need people to show up too. What's the formula, brother?
So let me give you something that is incredibly awesome that you need to look into. It's called the People's Rights Network. And this was something that was a brainchild of Ammon Bundy. And in very short order, Ammon's a good close friend of mine, and he knew my family. He's one of my best friends while we were living there in Idaho. We're still close friends, even though I live in Florida. And he told me in private, and this is not a private conversation or anything, it's not a big deal, but that when him and his family suffered what they suffered over there in 2014 in Bunkerville in Nevada, that he had a kind of a revelation of what the Second Amendment was when it describes the militia. Because everybody goes back and forth what a militia is, and everybody has their ideas what it means. He said, but there,
they try to reinterpret it, but it's actually just people. They don't have to be deputized by anybody.
That's true, and we all agree with that. But he said very specifically what he saw was not just the existence of what defines the militia, but what the militia actually does. And his point there was what the militia actually does was not just fighting off some foreign invader. He said, but when there was 285 law enforcement officials from 5 different agencies, including the BLM, which is the most well-known one, and the FBI.
He's talking about the Bureau of Land Management, guys, not that one.
Yeah, not Black Lives Matter. Sorry for not clarifying that. But there was over 200. I think it was 285. I think is what the number of them were that were out there with their guns drawn against Ammon Bundy and his family, abusing them. You guys have seen the videos. If you haven't, you can still go out there and watch them. They're on YouTube. And over 3,000 American patriots showed up
from Utah, Arizona, and Nevada.
Yeah, and stood in between Ammon Bundy and his family. It was really Cliven Bundy, who was, their patriarch.
Yeah, Cliven Bundy, correct.
And they stood in between the Bundy family and these, 280 plus agents of our government who are trying to kill them.
Yeah.
And 3,000 Americans showed up. Ammon said, that's the militia. The militia is, in his words, defined as neighbors protecting neighbors. That's what the militia really is.
I would recommend anyone.
This whole idea that if we could just get the people to stand up to defend one another, if the people would defend the people, we could preserve liberty. And so he started this idea, this network called the People's Rights Network, and it really started happening there during COVID in 2020. And the People's Rights Network was not an official organization. It's still not an official organization. There's nothing official about it. It was just Ammon bootstrapping this thing because he has a background in software. People think he's just a hick from the sticks, but he's a very brilliant businessman. And, he had a software company before they put him in jail for no reason whatsoever. He's one of the first Americans, him and his family, to be thrown in jail without any charges put against them. And people don't know the history of that, but it's the most wicked history you could ever see, what our government did to him and his family.
Mm-hmm.
And
I know the story. I know.
Yeah, that's that'll be a whole nother episode. There'll be multiple other episodes. But the bottom line was he started this network saying, if you guys want to defend yourself against tyranny, you have to be willing to know one another and be able to communicate with one another. So we had this great idea that why don't people get together in the same town? You don't have to come together based on religion or come together based on, certain other beliefs or whatever. But if you guys all believe that you don't want the government tyrannizing you on that one single belief, get to know each other, have monthly meetings so you all know who one another is, so you know who you're defending when you need to stand up and defend your neighbor. And of course, during COVID, this was very common. Tyranny was every day. And so it's something that people joined, and it was a texting system that he had, bootstrapped, and he had financed and created the software for it. And it was a way that people could text and communicate one with another. And people were having monthly meetings, and they're doing this all over the country, not just in Idaho. Ammon, of course, was in Idaho. We were a part of that network. My family joined that network, and we're having monthly meetings with all these people. And so we know them. And so everybody knew me and my family, and they knew my daughter, my son-in-law. They knew Baby Cyrus. Ammon was there, Baby Cyrus. The day Baby Cyrus was born, we have pictures of Ammon holding my grandson the day of his birth because he's a close family friend. And we're all People's Rights Network members, et cetera. And it's just another network of friends that you have, but they're not going to necessarily be your friends because you like the same football team or because, you guys go to the same restaurant or you go to the same church or your kids go to the same school. No, it's we all just resist tyranny. And because we all hate tyranny, I'm saying I'm willing to defend you, Eddie, when you need help from the government, if you're willing to defend me. And, Baby Cyrus was not the first time that they stepped in. There was other times where this had stepped in other places in Washington state, in other states around there where, CPS had come out, et cetera. Well, therefore, these people all knew my family. So when that night took place and Baby Cyrus was kidnapped, I also was very highly visible in the state of Idaho, and I had my own following because I had my own blog called the Freedom Man Press blog. And I was, politically active like yourself. And then we have other reasons, based on my regular business life where I had lots of connections. And so I went out there and personally called in every single favor and sent messages to every last person I knew. Ammon blasted this out on the People's Rights Network. And everybody was sharing it with everybody else and sharing it with everybody else. But they already had a personal belief set, an ideology, if you will, and a commitment. that when my neighbor, who's part of this People's Rights Network, needs help, I'm going to show up. That's basically the commitment. It's not, like there's nothing on paper. There's nothing. There's nothing. It's not an actual institution organization. It's just like when you say, hey, Diego, I'll defend you if you defend me, and vice versa. And tomorrow you call me and say, Diego, I need you to be here in Nevada tomorrow because I need your help. I'll be there. There's no contract we've signed. There's nothing. It's just, you're my friend. I'm your friend. And I just met you here tonight, but I'm willing to make that commitment. I'd be there, brother. I'd get on a plane in the morning. I'd be there. And that's what these people did. They showed up because it was already in their heart. It was already in their mind. And then this thing just blew up from there. And it became miraculous because it went everywhere. And one of the main reasons it went everywhere is because the night that Baby Cyrus was taken, Ammon went to the hospital. I went to the jail to go bail my daughter out of jail. Both of them. You saw them in that video clip. That was my one daughter's being ripped out of the truck by force. My other daughter, they literally took Baby Cyrus out of her hands and then put her in cuffs and in jail. Do you realize how absolutely tyrannical that is? How sick and disgusting those stormtroopers who call themselves cops, but they're nothing but evil, wicked tyrants who are going to burn in hell. And you say, oh, that's Diego getting mad because he's an angry grandpa. No, God said it. God is the one who said that they deserve death. Not me. God said it. There's nothing I can do or say to them. God is going to judge them. I hope they repent. But if they do not repent, their future has already been predetermined by God and his word. Period. End of sentence. How sick could you be? I'm going to rip your child away from you at the point of a gun, and then put you in handcuffs and put you in jail. They did that to my daughter.
I mean, what a moral dilemma to put in front of somebody. I mean, if you ask the average person on the street, how much would it cost for me to pay you for you to help me kidnap children? And I'll protect you with a badge and a paycheck and a pension. And how much money how much money does your soul cost?
It's sick.
Yeah.
It is so sick. But anyhow, I said all to say this, brother. The People's Rights Network still exists. It's in Nevada. It's in California. It's in Arizona. It's in Florida. You can go to peoplesrights.gs, as in good stuff, and you can sign up right then and there and find out where you guys are having meetings there locally and get together and meet other people because this has the potential if it really picks up. And, the problem is the effectiveness of the network is going to be directly proportional to, the effectiveness of the individuals wherever you happen to be. It's just like, just because you put your kid in a football team or a soccer club or something like that, doesn't mean they're going to be any good if he doesn't have a good coach, right? If you don't have good people around you, he's not on a good team. Right. And it's the same thing here. Some teams and some locations are just more involved than others. Some people are very active, some are not. But I highly encourage everybody to go there. Join the People's Rights Network, get to know people. You might make some great friends. Maybe you won't make some great friends. But I don't know about you. I don't have a whole lot of confidence in the current administration. It started off great. I thought things were going to be wonderful.
Yeah.
We're like a year into this, and I don't think that America's golden years are ahead. I bought into that probably at the beginning of the year, and it sure looked like things were going the right direction. Not so much anymore. And so the bottom line is this. You got Palantir coming. You got, whatever other types of false flags that are probably on their way. We've got all this unbelievable stuff unfolding with the Charlie Kirk assassination and who's going to be implicated once this is all over and done with. It is not a safe country to live in, brother. And these are not safe
people we trusted the most. The people we trust. This is the site. You got to get a login and that sort of thing.
All you got to do is just put your contact information and then you're in. Boom. And so once you do, and the reason for that is so that you can have the whole purpose is a form of communication. There is not really a network. All it is this website is a means so that everybody can automatically communicate with one another. So if all of a sudden CPS shows up at your door, Eddie, you click a button and all 100, 200, 300, 400 people who live relatively close to you get a message. Eddie's in trouble. Let's help him out. You can get it via email, via text message. I believe they've upgraded the system so it can be sent out over Signal for people who use Signal, and which I do. Hopefully you guys do as well. Yeah. I also use Telegram. And you can send out those messages instantly and people show up. So one of the things you'll note there is the night that Baby Cyrus was kidnapped. Why do we have so much footage of that? Like, how do we have so much footage? Because it's midnight. It's 1:00 in the morning. It's dark. We're in a parking, and not in a parking lot. We're in a gas station. And there's like, I don't know, half a dozen to a dozen People's Rights Network members sitting there filming all night long. They showed up on the spot because we sent out, my daughter sent out, we need help. And she's sending this out she's live streaming on Facebook. People's Rights Network members got up at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, midnight, and drove down there and stood there to defy the police officers and held up their cameras to let them know we're filming this. And there's nothing that cop hates more than a camera. They don't care about the Constitution. They don't care about law. They don't care about order, but they're terrified of cameras.
Yeah.
Which is the reason why they coerced my daughter to get inside the ambulance. So all of the criminal activity they did was all in secret inside that ambulance, so nobody could see it.
Yeah. I've witnessed.
So the People's Rights Network, brother, is the difference that made the difference when you say, why did people show up? It's people's rights. That's what it's all about.
Very cool. Good to know. So guys, listen, if you're listening and that sounds appealing to you, which I'm sure it does, get involved, because this is what we need to do. This is the one area in which the left just mops the floor with us. And we really need to have, and it's not so much, like you said, it's not about left or right. It's about whether or not you want to maintain your rights as a U.S. citizen and you want to be protected from a government should it ever become tyrannical. And what you were referring to earlier about the militias and that so forth, if you want to understand not just the Constitution, but the reason why they wrote it that way, go read the Federalist Papers.
That's right.
If your government ever should become tyrannical, the reason that you have those weapons is to protect yourself against your government. So when they tell you the police are already a well-regulated militia, no, I'm sorry. That's the government. The people are separate from the government. So never buy into that line. Never. I'm gonna give you the last word before we get out of here, Diego. Thank you so. It's been so informative. I've learned a lot here tonight, and it's a great conversation. Great conversation, guy. I really appreciate you joining us. So
I appreciate you having me, brother.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give you the floor. It's all yours.
I'll just wrap it up with just saying this, brother. I'll just wrap it up with saying, first of all, thank you for having us. Number two, I want to encourage everybody to watch Ryan's documentary. Probably the easiest way, because this is a podcast, is to say just go to babycyrus.com, and it's right there. It's right there on that homepage of babycyrus.com. If you want to watch it on YouTube, Rumble, or X, then just look up Ryan Matta Media. Ryan Matta. Matta spelled M-A-T-T-A. And watch his documentary and spread it as far and wide as you can. That's the number one thing I could share with everybody right now. Just watch the documentary, share it with everybody you know. Ryan funded this out of his own pocket. If you can, throw down some change and help him out, then do so. But please share this with everybody, because if the word doesn't get out, and if people are not motivated to action in order to see real change taking place, then the next time this happens is going to be at your front door. And by then it will be too late. So make sure the message gets out there. Watch the video so you know the documentary, so you know exactly how to protect your family. Because if you open that door, your life is going to be ruined. We don't want your life to be ruined. We don't want what happened to us to happen to anybody. Thank you, brother. God bless you. Thank you for having us here, and look forward to hopefully seeing you again sometime.
Yeah, I'm sure we will. And I got so into this. Usually I break like midway and plug our sponsor, which is CUE Broadcast. And I just got me so go. I apologize to all you guys over there, CUE. We love you. But yeah, just to plug them before we get out of here, guys. For those of you who do pay for, Hulu Live and YouTube TV and Direct TV and your $200, $300 bills, and then all of your news is censored. How about you going to go to a streaming service that actually upholds free speech, like what we just had, which will be on TV on CUE Broadcast, and they won't censor us. Every single word, every truth that we had, we will be listed right below Fox News and NBC and all the rest, telling you the actual truth. And those are the people that we need to support. It's $69.99 a month. You can have it up to 5 devices. You can go to any one of our pages on the Patriot Prayer Network, myself, Maurice, Steve, any one of our pages right there. Click the link. It's also in the description below, along with the babycyrus.com link, as well as Ryan's page and a list of Ryan's documentaries. All of that will be in the description. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. And as usual, the silent majority, you need to stop being silent and stand your ground, because evil never retreats willingly. It must be beaten back. Guys, you have a great night, and God bless.
My people of this country, and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough.
This is the Patriot Prayer Podcast. It's a tremendous show, one of the greatest shows in the history of the world.
This is Bryson Gray, and you are watching the Patriot Prayer.
PPN, you're doing the right thing.
On the Patriot Prayer Network. Thank you all.
PPN on your bumper.
I'm Tom McDonald. This is the Patriot Prayers Network. Check it out. Lots of good TV, lots of cool people. Tune in, keep it locked.
Know where I stand. I'm the white boy with the middle fingers in the air, dog. We don't give a what. 100 white boys gonna hold me down anywhere, dog. We think that you suck. My patriots the craziest. They ain't afraid of breaking fists on faces. If you really wanna taste of this, no safety tip. The same mistake and spray the clip. I pray you miss, cause if you don't, they gon' go wacko. Automatic gun smoke like tobacco. Never hit a lady, but it's pretty hard to tell if you're a girl or a they, them. There's these, that, those. I ain't never gonna take a knee for the anthem. Smack them. I don't give a damn, can't stand them. Gang full of randoms, fan with a handgun. Run up in your mansion, leave it all abandoned. I was raised to be brave to the grave. United States, we love the country that they've been corrupting. Go woke and go broker if you ain't awake. My people of this country, and we're under attack. They banning us, they cancel us for speaking the facts. If you man enough, come stand with us, take USA back. And every time we pull up, all you're gonna see is American flags. American flags. American flags. And every time we pull up,
Nice.
Yeah, that's gonna raise some eyebrows, brother. That is definitely gonna raise some eyebrows. So I was talking with Cliven's nephew, and I was and his